Tonight, we're taking questions from Reddit. Let's do it. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. My name is Josh, and I am joined by the boys. We got the whole crew back.
The whole crew's back.
Full house, baby.
This is back-to-back weeks. This is a streak. That's what we call a streak.
That's
in
what we call
the
a streak.
biz.
I'm a streaker, dude.
In the business. I'll start off with the booth. Spencer, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? I've gotten LASIK since the last episode. I don't wear glasses anymore.
Looking good. Looking good.
This is the best 2K you've spent.
It's working real good, especially as you squint to see me from over here.
No, it's just the glass. It's a little.
Oh, that's
little
what it is.
foggy,
You got to Windex that thing.
It's not in the budget. It's not in the budget. Hey, what's up, Jake?
Nothing much. Good to be back.
Good to see you, man.
Goatee. New look going for the goatee.
Attaboy.
It's
Johnny.
that dad stash.
Johnny Digital, what's up, man?
Blessed to be another day in the booth.
That's a t-shirt.
Blessed in the booth.
Blessed to be in
Blessed
the
in the
booth.
booth.
Oh, man. Daniel, Ken, what's going on, guys?
Not much. Just enjoying this weather, man. You know,
Oh,
springtime. It is just so good. And, I'm a motorcycle owner, so I am just, I'm out there, man.
Are you a motorcycle owner?
I am.
I didn't know
I
that.
knew a motorcycle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
When did you get it?
I got it in the fall, but now is like really the time that I'm riding it because by
Nice.
the time I was done doing a few things to it, it was kind of getting too cold to ride. So I didn't get to ride a lot in the fall, but now that the good weather's been here, I'm it's my commuter to work.
It increases his commute time by about 3 times.
That's okay.
It takes him 45 minutes to get to
That's
New
an
Bedford to church.
That's an exaggeration, but okay.
Does it take you longer to get to church?
Yeah, because I don't drive on the highway, so
Not at that level yet?
I'm not at that
Yeah,
level
I
yet.
got you. I
And I'm
understand.
fine with that because I just enjoy.
Yeah, you'd rather be safe.
I just enjoy
Be
the road.
safe.
Do you
Enjoy the road.
Pop on a leather jacket and everything?
I don't have a leather jacket, but I have like a
He
like
wears
a riding jacket. Has like the armor, so it's
Okay.
more like a heavy mesh,
Okay.
and it's so it's breathable, but it has like the armor and the
Okay.
key places just in case.
Just
You
in
know,
case.
He
something.
shows up in a variety of chaps that shall be unnamed for this episode. It's too unsafe for Sunday.
You're just so jealous. You're just so jealous.
We call him Pastor Chaps when he shows up.
Does it rhyme with smassless? You like that one, Spence? Spencer like that one. Oh, man.
Pastor Chaps.
Pastor Chaps.
Hey, you guys, any of you guys?
Didn't I tell you he found God in Ratatouille and over there he is.
Look at that.
He's got
Remy.
Remy came out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Remy, my boy.
Reference to call back to last episode.
Yeah. Find God in all the Disney.
Hey, you can find God in anything, man. He's created everything.
I heard that Katy
God is
Perry.
in the sky.
Katy Perry found God in the sky in
Yeah.
space.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! What was the name of that capsule? Blue Origin?
Blue
Blue
Origin.
Ivy? What is it?
Blue Origin. I think it was Blue Origin.
What's Blue Ivy?
Dude,
Isn't
that's
that-
Beyonce and Jay-Z's
I was gonna say, isn't that Jay-Z's daughter?
Close enough.
It's close enough.
Close enough.
Blue Origin. That's
Either way, Jeff Bezos was involved. So. I don't even know.
In what way was Jeff Bezos involved?
I'll let you think about it.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. So you guys caught up on that on the space excursion?
All hail the astronauts, dude.
Yeah, I don't pay a ton of attention to that, but you could have not have seen that.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah, it was
everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, big publicity stunt, I guess. I don't know, just
What was the point?
five rich people going up into orbit for 10 seconds or something like that, and then calling themselves astronauts when they got back.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Katy Perry kissing the ground.
I'm like,
yeah, that was hard to watch. A lot of what I see is just so cringy. All the footage afterwards of all
Yeah.
of them. It's just so cringy.
Yeah. Did you see the door?
Yeah, the door. So that's the big conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Is that the capsule comes down and apparently they're pressurized, and so they can't be opened. I don't know, scientifically, they can't be opened from the inside because if it were, it could blow open on descent. But as they're walking up, the video catches the door opening before they even do anything to the outside. So everyone's saying it's a conspiracy. It's not real. They didn't go up, and So yeah,
I mean,
a lot of theories floating.
I
around.
wouldn't put it past, just a big publicity stunt, just a big photo op. But
And then you see the video of them like walking off, and then they like ring the bell. Like all of them like ring the bell. Jeff Bezos rings the bell.
What is it, Ben and Jerry's? He
It's
got
like-
the flavor of the month. Ting, ting, ting.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I mean, I
this is very
get
crazy.
like I guess the big thing is that like people are mad they're calling themselves astronauts, and I get that because
Yeah.
if I'm an astronaut, you've trained your whole life for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta like endure so many physical challenges. You gotta pass so many tests, and to
Right.
have media personalities and pop stars go up there and say we're astronauts now. Like yeah, I can see that. I'd be mad.
Space traveler, maybe. Space traveler for 10 seconds.
Sure.
stratosphere or not? I don't know. I don't know.
Just touched it. Just quick.
Just
Just real quick.
just grazed it.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly.
But
Yeah.
and they're not like the first to do it. I mean, people have been paying, right? Like, I don't know if
Is that true?
I think people have been
really?
paying to do stuff like this for a little bit
Yeah.
now. So I don't know. I don't know what the big deal
It's
was,
just
but
going to become a more common occurrence where people just get to go up into space whenever they want.
yeah, I'm sure that's probably part of it. Just big marketing ploy.
I like the conspiracies that come from it, though. I'm into it. I'm gonna ask, so I want everybody's opinion. I'll go one by one. Have we been on the moon,
Yes.
Daniel?
I mean, I think we have the capacity to be on the moon. I don't know if we went in the 70s, but I know that I feel like we've been to the moon.
Spencer, have we been to the moon?
I mean, yeah, at some point. I mean, I've heard a story that somebody asked Buzz Aldrin that, and he punched him in the face for asking that question.
Well, but then there isn't there like also like is it Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong that like there's these clips of him, well, one of them saying that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that real? Those clips that are going around, so I think that just feeds the conspiracy.
Mhm.
But
Jake's my conspiracy guy. Jake, have we been on the moon?
Jake,
Jake.
bring it out, Jake.
Break it
Point
down.
that mic at
I
you.
don't think we have, and I think a lot of the footage is underwater footage. It's underwater. A lot of the footage. It's that's why we have the zero gravity effect.
Mm.
Because there's lots of videos out there about the nuts and bolts of spaceships and spacecrafts. A lot of it doesn't make sense scientifically.
I love your skepticism,
Yeah.
Jake. I love it, dude.
You sound the most conspiracy theorist out of all of us here.
Not trying
I
to.
like it. I like it.
What,
I like
what-
the take.
Research.
How do you feel about Monster Energy, Drake? No, we're not going there. We're not going.
is
I was
the
just
Earth
kidding.
flat, Jake?
No.
There you
Okay,
go.
good.
Johnny, space. We ever been to the moon?
I think we have, but not in the 70s. Like
Really?
they were saying.
Okay.
I think that was fake.
Yeah, I think.
Captain
I think-
Digital's going to take us there.
Find
yeah.
out, yeah.
I see the horizon.
I think we've been to the moon, dude. I think we went.
Do you
I
think when in that
think-
video, though?
I think they went in the 70s. Yeah.
You think they were in the
Fake
70s?
news.
Well, I just don't know what
I
what.
think it was 60s, actually, just
what-
to set the record straight.
What is it?
I think it was 1969.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah,
it was 69.
1969. Yeah.
But I just want what's
That's
the
even Stevens reminds me of that.
what would be the motivation of a conspiracy though? Like why?
What wasn't it like? Beat the Russians. Beat the Russians.
Yeah,
to
no, for
space?
sure. But that was 1969 was what? Like that was like 56 years
Yeah.
ago. So I mean, the technology is so much greater.
Yeah.
There's so much more that we've done. So I'm just wondering, like, why, like,
Why Katy Perry let the door fly open? Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing too.
I mean, because like right now, just comparing like the moon landing to like that whole Katy Perry thing. I mean, the moon landing seems a lot more sure to me to have happened than those ladies going up into space. So
They just went on a really high flight.
yeah,
Yeah.
The roller coaster.
What do they do? Those like zero gravity drops, so that way you get the illusion that you're like
that's
doing
a
the
thing.
floating,
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
a thing, right?
yeah,
Like,
that's
people have been doing that for so long.
Yeah, on planes, right? You can
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
You can go rent, like, not rent a plane, but you can go, and they'll do that.
It's like an
yeah.
excursion.
Yeah, do it in Mexico.
Yeah.
You go see the pyramids, and they go do a plane drop.
Chichen Itza plane drop, zero gravity plane drop.
I'm into it.
I like it.
Yeah.
The Pope is dead.
The Pope.
What a hard transition. there.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Too soon? That's a hard cut.
It's a hard cut.
Hard cut to the death of the Pope.
Yeah. it has to come out. We gotta
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, it's Is it too soon? Is it too soon to talk about it? How does the
conclave's over by now.
Yeah, but by the time you're listening to this episode, there is a new pope.
There's a new pope.
I
might predict.
Who's it gonna be?
I don't know. Word on the street. There's a guy going around claiming to be the new pope.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Get the beat button, boys.
Yeah,
get it ready.
What is the process? I don't know anything about it. What is the process?
You just said you saw that movie Conclave.
I watched Conclave.
Right. Yeah.
You can catch it on Prime. It was a really good movie.
Drama or documentary? Because I'm just hearing about this.
It's dramatized, so it's not actually like nonfiction. It's not based off of, but the whole process is very accurate to how they like vote. So the conclave, they get all the cardinals together, and they're basically sequestered, so they're not allowed access to the outside world or anything. They're pretty much locked in these kind of chambers. They have their rooms that they sleep in at night, but then they all go into this larger kind of room, and they vote, and they have to continue to vote and revote until there's a majority. There's a certain number, I forget what that number is now, but there's a certain number that needs to be reached for them to be considered pope, and then once that cardinal is voted pope, they have to choose to accept. If they don't accept, boom, back into the voting pool again. But
so is it just these other popes campaigning for head pope?
They're cardinals.
Yeah,
they're cardinals. They're cardinals.
I don't know Catholicism like that. So these other cardinals are these like this guy's a young up and comer. I really like him.
Well, conclave kind of gets into a lot of the politics kind of behind it, and so you get to see kind of, and I mean it's dramatized, so who's to say whether it's true or not? But based off of all of Catholic history, you know that there's been lots of drama in the Catholic Church. So
wait, we need to throw this over to Jake right now, because I just have a feeling he's just ready to explode.
Yeah, let's go, Jake. Tell me
if you're a conspiracy guy, come on.
Tell me the Pope conspiracy theory.
I want to add one thing on the space thing, because so
the Pope's been to space.
The one clear thing about space is that
Papis Astronatus.
If you look up, if you're watching like footage from space, you always notice that guy who goes in the chamber and then goes out into space. Think about how clean that has to be for that person to get out and escape without the air getting in. I don't know if that's possible. That's the one thing that's keeping me from believing that we went to space.
Jake, I love you, dude.
That's great.
I knew you wanted to say something, but I was way off on what you wanted to say.
I appreciate that. That helped me get some clarity.
You don't ever show a lot of emotion, but I could just there's
Jake
like
was itching
there was a bubbling going on inside of me. I could sense it.
It's like the door. What do they do with the door? Jake, we love you, dude.
You are the man.
So good. That gave me a good laugh.
Well, I remember when the last pope, the pope who just passed away.
Back to the Pope.
Back to you, Pope. Hard cut. Back to the Pope.
I had to go back to Pope. What was his name?
Francis?
John Paul?
Francis.
No, John Paul was behind him.
Before him?
Before him.
All right.
Not to be mistaken with Sean Paul.
So
the Pope before that.
I remember when Francis was before he was selected, you have there's two different orders, right? There's the Jesuit order, and then there's the Roman Catholic order, or I don't even know if I'm getting it right, but I know the Jesuit order, and if somebody comes from there, they would be called the Black Pope because of what they wear, and there's been so few or none in history or something like that, and so I don't know it that well, but I know there's definitely conspiracy theory with that kind of stuff.
Really?
That's the Jesuit order is they were like the muscle.
Yeah.
They were like the Catholic muscle back in the day. That was the
mob.
heavy, the mob. Seriously, the mob element, the heavy of the Roman Catholic Church back in the day. So if a Jesuit pope is elected or whatever you call it, then who knows?
Get ready for some disappearances.
Fighting.
That's wild. It's wild out there. Conclave. Go watch Conclave.
Does the movie get into that at all? That whole thing? Or
no mention of the Black Pope, or the Purple Pope, or the Red Pope.
Are those all the colors?
I don't know.
You weren't paying attention.
It's the regular Pope.
But I will have to say though that I think just if we're talking about like eschatology, which is like end times types of stuff, like a religious leader having that much power, which he has a ton of power and influence, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's got to be what
my flag's at half staff at the post office right now.
Really?
Yeah,
For the Pope?
Wow.
No
yeah.
kidding.
Oh yeah.
So for
Wow.
for that, hey, I mean, how many Catholics are there? There's got to be like over 1 billion, right? Catholics probably worldwide. So just I always kind of like when a pope dies and they're getting ready to elect another one. That's where my mind usually goes is like, how will this affect? Because I mean, I think his funeral is going to be like coming up when we record this. Obviously, it will have happened when it airs, but like all the world leaders are going, and JD Vance was there like the day before he died, and so there's such connection to world politics. So that's where my mind usually goes, and not so much conspiracy, but just like curiosity of like, how will this affect eschatology? How will this affect end time stuff? Because it will. It has to. Just because of the amount of power and influence that he has, and the fact that end times, themes. There's definitely a religious figure who is very much involved with how things kind of come to an end or come to just going blank right now.
Judgment Day?
No, the
The peak, the climax.
Sure.
All right, well, you circle back.
I'll circle
We'll
back.
hard cut back to that when you get it.
When I think about,
Is it an R word?
I don't know what it
Sounds like an R word.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an
I'll
R-word.
circle back to it.
That's great.
That was good. What's JD Vance doing there, Spence?
Killing
You're
the
a big-
Pope, clearly.
Spence is a big JD Vance guy.
No.
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 No, no.
No, I have no idea. I just see like that's turned into a
whole meme.
conspiracy theory. Like,
Jake, did
JD
Vance
talk to him, and then 7 hours later he was dead?
Jake, what does your people have to say about that?
our senior conspiracy correspondent?
No, it's been a couple years since I've gone down any sort of rabbit hole since having children. So I focus on nothing but positivity now.
There we go.
And the word is tribulation, the great tribulation. I just couldn't think of that word for some reason.
Oh man.
That's what I was saying.
There it is.
There it
Well,
is.
Wow.
Tonight, speaking of conspiracy theories, I don't know if you've ever been on Reddit, but there's all kinds of conspiracy
Reddit's
theories
great.
on there. But
Not too familiar with it, but
so yeah, Reddit. It's
That's how
kind
I
of
know.
like
That's how I knew what robot vacuum to buy.
really.
Reddit forums. There's a Reddit forum
Yeah,
for everything,
Reddit-
dude.
Yeah,
Reddit-
just forums,
it's
right?
just a basic
you can
bunch
just
of
like
forums.
see discussions about like literally everything.
Yeah.
right?
Anything.
Okay.
Chime in on anything.
Oh my gosh, you have a question? Somebody on Reddit has answered it.
yeah. There's it can be a very black hole too. There's
Oh
like
my
a
gosh,
lot,
yeah.
like there's a lot. But if you want, like Daniel just said, you want a question asked and answered. Well, it's happening on Reddit. And what I've seen is there's a lot of people, a lot of non-believers on there that have a lot of questions for Christians, for believers, for people in the faith. And I thought it was a good idea if we pull some of those questions that those people had and try to answer them the best we can from a biblical perspective. So, without further ado, Spencer's gonna read them off to us tonight, and we appreciate that, buddy.
Yes, no problem. Okay, first question. Why would God create flawed creations when he could make them without flaws? When you cook dinner, do you intentionally throw some spices in there that ruin the flavor of the meal, or do you make it taste as good as you possibly can?
To answer the second question, it depends who I'm eating with. Sorry.
I don't intentionally put spices in there.
If I really
that
don't like
make
the
it taste
person.
good. Sometimes it just happens.
I've had a few bad meals at Ken's house.
That's a lie.
No, it's always good.
But it's a really good question as far as, and we've heard it asked probably in many different ways, especially you guys. You guys have probably heard this asked in many different ways. And basically at the heart of it, it is why did God even give us the capacity to sin? I would surmise. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, God created Adam and Eve in a holy, sinless state, which means that they were without, I guess, inherent flaws. They were without sin. Sin had not marred them. They had not disobeyed God, which is sin. And so it's somewhat of a cliche, but I always like say that they were created in a happy and holy state. So they had union with God, communion with God, and that was unbroken because of the fact that they didn't have sin. I think where my mind goes for the first part of the answer of this is that had God created them without flaws, he would have just made himself again. And there's only one God, and that's what makes him God, is that he is above all and unique in every single way. And the biggest part of his uniqueness is the fact that he is perfect and without flaw. And so I think that's kind of speaks to some, like, I think because of sin, we inherently have like a God complex. That's what we see really exploited in the garden, where Satan deceives Eve with that question. Did God really say that you should not eat? He just said that because he knows if you ate it, your eyes would be opened, knowing good from evil, and that you'd be like him.
Right.
That began like our God complex, where we wanted to sit on the throne of our own hearts and be the ruler of our own lives. And so I think this question is typically probably not, and I don't mean intentionally, could definitely be subconscious, but I think it's kind of born out of that, is that why can't we be perfect, or why couldn't we be perfect? And I can't speak specifically to the mind of God, of course, but I can definitely say that he did not we are made in his image and likeness. To make somebody without flaw would be to make himself, and he couldn't, because there's only one, and that's him.
Yeah, Genesis says, let us make humanity in my image, in our image. So it does, like you said, that I've actually never heard it said that way.
That was a great unpacking.
To say if he wanted to make perfection, he just would have made a copy of himself, and then that wasn't the purpose. It was to make something in his image that he could love. He could then love. And that was a really great way to put that. Did you have a thought, Daniel?
No, I mean, that was very interesting unpacking. I never really heard it really said like that. But I think a lot of this you can really deep dive into, like, free will versus predestination. Why did God give us a free will? Did he already know and foresee who would choose him? All these things, all these different things. But the reality of it is that when God created, he said it was very good, and so he didn't really make a mistake when he created mankind.
That's right.
And he wasn't ignorant to the fact that this creation would choose wrongly. He was already well aware that would happen, but that didn't stop him or prevent him from making a very good creation, and one that he was happy with, one that he wanted to walk with in the garden and still spend time with. And even after they sinned, he still walked in the garden and almost was like, oh, like, where are they? When they were just hiding, and he knew very well why they were missing. But I think to kind of speak to that is, like, God already had all of this laid out. He knew his son would have to be sacrificed, and that would bring his creation into full communion with him. And that was necessary. It was necessary, even though it's incomprehensible. And I think what Ken just says really brings a lot of light to that fact, is that he to just create these mind-numbing robots who would just come and just continue to worship all the time and never do anything else but worship. I mean, is that really love? I mean, if I had a child who I was able to do, like, Build-A-Bear child, right? Build-A-Bear child, where I can make this child anything I wanted, exactly how I wanted it, make it exactly how, like, shape the whole trajectory of his life, and also choose whether or not that child would love me or not. Like, wouldn't I rather have a child choose to love me than like me just force or say, no, this child is going to love me?
Right.
Isn't that love way more meaningful? So for God, I would imagine his heart to be like, it must fill his heart with so much joy, the fact that we would come and worship him and love him and honor him and revere him, rather than him just say, you're loving me whether or not you want to or not. You know what I mean? So what kind of God would do
Because
that?
that's not love.
No.
You know, and that's the thing is that I start out by saying, you know, God is the only perfect one, and he's just so unique in that. But then we should be able to see the qualities of God in ourselves because we're made in his image and likeness. And so that's kind of where I was going to go too. I was like, Josh, if you were going to get married to Melissa and you're like, Melissa, I promise to love you, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but only if you can guarantee that you'll never betray me, that you'll never hurt me, that you'll never, you know, disappoint me, you know, and use that was the bargain of your love. That's not really love, you know. You're putting, you know, a qualification. You know, you're putting a stipulation to that, and love is it's all. You know what I mean? It's despite what the person does. You know, it doesn't have that condition to it. And so I think when we look at the way that we're created in his image and likeness, and we see what real love is versus what, you know, conditional love is, how can God, who is love and the creator of everything, how could he create us in any other way? You know, as Daniel said, how could he create us like these mindless, you know, mind-numbing robots or whatever? That's not relationship.
Right.
And we can see that as human beings. How much more so God, you know, who created love and who, you know, is his very essence is love.
Yeah, Daniel, I mean, we've brought it up about the last couple episodes as now being you having a young child, and now I have 2 children. Thinking about what we've talked about as like watching them grow, watching them, like I can speak for my son's a little bit older now, he's 6.
Yeah.
But watching him make decisions on his own, watching him experience joy, like that isn't, I'm not telling you to be happy, I'm not telling you to do this thing.
Yeah.
It fills you with this feeling. And I can't explain it. Cannot explain that. Pride is probably like just being proud of my son and seeing the things that he's doing, the things that he's picking up, the way he's choosing to live his life, and to imagine what that means to God as the way that we carry out our lives. It must be absolutely incredible when we choose to seek him, to choose to have a relationship with him, to choose to take his love and his teaching and then apply it in our lives. Because I see the things that my son does when I instruct him on something or just kind of talk to him about something, and see that how that has changed his outlook on things, that's changed his behavior, and then the way that he chooses to live or the way that he chooses to unpack problems. It's just this amazing thing that, like I said, it's very, very hard to explain. And I think that's exactly what God did with us, and God's intention was with us, is to create these things that you hit the nail on the head, Daniel, is very good. So he created us to be very good.
Yeah.
We are very good, but he didn't create us to be the Xerox copy of him and just be only exactly like he is, just whatever, created with a slight variation or whatever. No, we created to be our own individual people in his image, to then be able to love him. And I think that's the big difference. What this person's question is, and you came with all the heat at the beginning, but I mean it really is that. It's to have this free will, to experience love as a parent from my child, that I protect them and that, but to see that how he loves me, but now how he can also love others. I think that's a big part of why God did create us the way that he did.
Yeah, and I think some of the heart of these, you know, is that the question, I think sometimes it's set up for a desired answer. You know, so a lot of times when people will ask a question like this, it's because they already have like a presupposition of like what the answer is going to be. Yeah. And so when you have something like where like, oh, he created flawed creations or whatever, well, with the potential to sin, but not with sin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he uses the cooking analogy. He didn't go and if you're talking about throwing in a spice that's going to ruin a meal, well, God didn't go and throw the spice into the meal.
Right.
He created the meal, and it's a bad analogy, but he created a meal, then that meal decided to spice itself. You know what I mean? It is alive.
You know, and so again, I think it always goes back to how we were made in his image, and it's like, you know, we don't have the foreknowledge that God has, of course,
Right.
you know, and so think about how incredible his love is because he decided to create us anyway,
Right.
despite the fact that he knew that we'd be flawed,
Mm.
but that his love was enough to redeem us and bring us back to him. And if you look at the Bible, it's like chapter 3 is, you know, we have creation, we have Adam and Eve, and then we have the fall, and then the rest of it is God's redemption plan for man.
It's 97%.
Yeah, I mean,
Seriously.
even more. You know, I mean, the whole thing then starts pointing back to how man can get back to God. You know, and so, you know, we can never dissect the mind of God, obviously,
Right.
but that's an incredible love to create and knowing what was going to happen, but yet still create us, and with that great potential and that plan that he would initiate, that we could come back and return back to him.
Mm.
And the unfortunate fallout of this is that, you know, the question kind of goes on to say, is if God is omnipotent, he could have created people without the desire to sin, but instead chose not to, resulting in a world full of rapists, murderers, and child molesters. All of this could have been avoided if he just created people without the desire to sin. And so I think that's where kind of people get hung up is, okay, you know, and it's the larger question, you know, if God's so good, why is there so much bad in the world? You know, and it brings up a lot of these things and preconceived kind of presuppositions. People already have the idea in their mind, but, you know, it's if I were to regurgitate the question back to them and say, okay, if God had created you to just only do anything but love him, how would you feel? Like, do you like that idea of a God? Like, you know, so I think in that same presupposition is there's already like, it's a flawed logic because when you repeat it back in a different way to them, it's like, okay, the alternative is that God created you only to do one thing, and that's only to love him. And that's really it. Not have the capacity to choose good or choose bad. And again, I think fatherhood is a great mirror because it really is Father. God is our Father.
Right.
But like I think being fathers, you start to understand the heart of God the Father so much more. Like, and so thinking about if my daughter, her every interaction with me, everything that she does, and she's 7 months, she can barely do anything. But anytime she just smiles or chooses joy or just like, you know, anything, I'm like, like that's my girl. Like I love this girl. You know what I mean? Same thing for you. I think Jeremiah it's way more interactive. You know, he's at the point where now he's making decisions for himself. He gets to choose whether or not to do good or to do bad in certain situations. And so how proud are you as a dad when he just continues to choose good?
It's great.
And then when he chooses bad, I mean, you don't hate him. There's a heartbreak there because you want him to do good and you for his own sake and not just for you, not for what he can do for you, but just because you want to see him be the best that he can be for himself and do great things and succeed. And you know that in the bad that he's choosing to do, it's preventing him from being the full measure of very good, you know? And so I think that mirrors kind of God our Father in the sense that, you know, it how much joy his heart feels when we choose good and when we choose to love him and we choose to serve him and serve his kingdom. And then, you know, how his heart grieves for a creation that he spent time and love and energy on just creating this person, and yet they're choosing to go the opposite way. And so, you know, I think fatherhood's a great depiction for it.
Yeah, it's a great point, Daniel, and we gotta remember too. With there's no God, then there is no good. There's no objective good. Now it's just subjective. Whatever I believe to be good is what's good, and whatever you believe to be good is what's good.
Yeah.
So without God, there is no good,
Yeah.
and He created us to be good.
Mm-hmm.
We just happen to make a bad decision along the way, and that's that spice in the whatever
Absolutely.
in the meal or whatever.
Absolutely. Booth.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Booth. What are we thinking back there? I want to hear from some intellectuals.
Jake, hit us with the conspiracy.
You guys,
More conspiracy.
No.
you guys kind of are in your Pope mobile behind the glass over there.
A little bit.
Wow, I like it.
All right, Spence, you want to read the next question?
Sure. Okay. In response to questioning the meaning of life without God, what makes life with God so meaningful? You're telling me that the entire purpose of your existence, the only reason you were created, is to praise your Creator for creating you. Why is that desirable?
Good question.
That's a really good question. That one's deep. That one's really
I think
deep.
it kind of echoes to some of what we were just talking about, about God creating us with the ability to serve him or to choose not to serve him. And so, I think.
Well, I think if you understand God and again, so connected to the last question, if you understand God and his unconditional love,
Amen.
Okay, and you understand that you are created in his image, I think people have an understanding or a misconception for sure that serving God and praising God is more like slavery than it is freedom.
Big time.
So for somebody to say, how can you find value in that? Well, to love your children unconditionally is living in the image that you were created in and with the purpose that you were created. To love like God loves, that's praising God. And so I think people, again, they have this misconception that it's just like this cultish like kind of thing that I'm just like forced to, live in this certain mold and say these certain things and sing these certain songs. And no, when I'm doing and accomplishing what I was created to do, that is very much my worship to God, and kind of going to like a Romans 12, and what, our lives is the living sacrifice is where I'm really living for him in what he put me here to do. And I'm laying aside, some of my selfish ambitions and desires to really pursue the call on my life and finding my purpose. And no matter what, no matter where you come from in these kind of questions, and if you have like a presupposition or not, I think most people in a general sense, they want to find their true purpose.
Oh, yeah.
So to live a life that praises God is to live a life where you're doing and accomplishing what you were put on earth to do. And most people will give all their money, everything to find that out. I mean, people are on a lifelong quest to find that out.
Right.
So to find that through a relationship with God and then start living towards it, that's very much what praising God or serving God is. And so again, I think sometimes we have to find the question within the question and understand that a lot of times people ask these questions because they have this preconceived idea that it's somehow slavery or like cultish or forced rather than free. Going back to the original question, if God's love is unconditional, then I'm free.
Right.
In serving him and in loving him and worshiping him. That's freedom. That's not captivity.
Right. And that peace and security that you feel that comes from that unconditional love is it's incredible. And my heart breaks for the people that have these questions or feel this way, because I think if you have this question and this is something that you feel, well, you probably haven't experienced the presence of God. You probably haven't experienced God's love in your life in some way, because I think if you had and you've known and had relationship with him, you'll realize the worship that you're talking about, it's not like this thing where I'm just going and singing on Sunday because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not just going and praying because that's what I'm supposed to do. You're doing it because you truly feel joy. You truly feel love by doing this, and this is the bare minimum gift I can give is my song of praise.
Yeah, it's an expression, really.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to realize that. Trust me, I would go to church and I would try to get there a little late so I could miss all the singing because I just came for the stories. You know what I mean? I just came to hear the word and I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to partake in that. I didn't think I needed to. I thought it was dumb. I didn't want to go and sing. Dude, now my hands up. I'm in there. I'm in that back.
I see it from the back row.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm back there, and it's like, but it's because I'm overcome and overwhelmed by that love of God. I've felt it, I've experienced it, and I'm not embarrassed anymore to praise him, and it's that change and that basically maturity has come with relationship.
Yeah.
And the importance of that relationship is kind of echoed in what this person is asking is, well, why worship a God that, did I miss it? Oh, the meaning of life. What makes life with God so meaningful? It's that love and that love. And I'm not doing this because I have to do. I don't worship because I have to. I worship because I'm compelled to. I want to do this because of his love.
I was scrolling the other day, as I do.
Doom scrolling?
And it may have been. Nonetheless, I was scrolling, and I came across, coincidentally enough, it was a video that I think it was a great analogy, and I didn't have a lot of context to the video, but it was like these people talking on a stage, and it seemed like there was a guy who was, what I would gather is possibly an atheist, kind of asking a question sort of similar to this, and there was a girl who responded, and her response was great. I wish I could find the video, but she was basically saying like a glove was created, right, for one purpose. It was created to fit a hand, and it serves a purpose. When you wear a glove, whatever it is, a baseball glove, it's meant to catch the ball, right? If you're wearing gardening gloves, it's meant to protect your hands. If you're wearing gloves as a mechanic or whatever, it's meant to keep your hands cleaner or protected or whatever it may be. And so, a glove is only, its whole purpose is only found when a hand is in it. Without that hand in it, without the purpose it was created for actually using it, it's absolutely useless. And so the same thing, kind of apply that analogy to ourselves. We were created in the image and the likeness of God to serve, to honor, to love him, right? And so that can only be done with God inside of us. When he's not inside of us, our lives are devoid of purpose. They're devoid of meaning. And so we're kind of like an empty shell, like a glove sitting in a shed somewhere just laying there. It's useless. It's just wasting away, right? But its purpose is found when it's actually being filled and used by what it was meant to be filled and used with. And that for us is like, we're the glove, and God is the one that's inhabiting us and using us for his purpose. And that's where meaning is actually discovered, is when we're being used by God. And that just like, I sat there, and even you could see the guy's like, well, I've never heard it explained that way. So you mean like when God is living in me, like I find my meaning and my purpose? Like his whole demeanor kind of changed, and I thought that was a great analogy to describe like why is it so meaningful that we believe in God and that he inhabits within us as his creation.
I think a lot of it gets to like the whole word like serving God. I think that's like kind of can be used like just or thought of just in a crude way.
For sure.
You go back to Genesis when God created Adam. It wasn't like, okay, now Adam, now you shall do this and do this, and you serve me and you bow down. It was they had relationship.
Yeah. And
he did put him in the garden for a purpose and for a job, but it wasn't for God's benefit.
Right.
It was for Adam's.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like God was like, okay, I want to see like 10 bushels of apples by the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Feed me grapes.
I'm really hungry, and feed me grapes, or I'm working on this stew and I really need these vegetables. So get on it, Adam. No, it was for God. It was for Adam. It was to give him purpose. Yeah. And if we can, I find God in Ratatouille, but I think I can also find it in the Karate Kid. Because after Daniel's son. Exactly. Is all messed up, and his shoulder hurts and his arm hurts, and he's like, what the heck? You just got me doing all your chores and waxing your cars. And he's like, no, Daniel's son. Show me wax on. Show me wax off. And it was for his benefit. Yeah. He was shaping him, and he was giving him purpose through the work. And so I think a lot of that, again, going back to my original point, is like misconception in serving God. It's like as if we're like these slaves driven by a taskmaster. No, we have relationship with God. He gives us purpose. Sometimes that involves, a work or an effort, but it's for our benefit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it all works into his his quilt, that he's knitting together.
Yeah, I think having like a purposeful life with God, it's not as much about following the rules as it is about is just experiencing His presence in your life every day. Because it's not like he gave Adam and Eve a bunch of rules. He gave them one rule. There was one rule.
Yeah.
Everything else was kind of like, hey, this is your garden. Like, you do take care of it. And those things were probably good acts of worship. Just him taking care of that garden,
being a
whatever
good
he
steward.
was. Yeah. Going back, throwbacks.
Call back.
But that was his worship. It wasn't necessarily follow these rules.
Yeah.
I think religion, if we put the quotes on religion, has made those rules for us to follow.
100%.
Obviously based off of interpretation of the Bible and things like that. But that's not the experiencing God's presence and being in relationship with God, I think, is the key to that.
Yeah, no, 1,000%.
It's a great question.
All right, Spence, let's hit the next one.
All right. What if by chance, instead of being born in a Christian majority family, town, or country, you were born in an Islamic, Jewish, Hindu, or Buddhist majority? Would you still have the same conviction in saying that the Christian way of life is the right way of life?
This is it's funny because obviously we read these questions ahead of time. It's almost an impossible question to answer.
I know. I was just
in the
same
context
time.
because obviously you're going to be raised and you're going to adopt the beliefs and the conviction of the environment you're raised in.
Right.
So it's kind of an impossible question. I think we could probably maybe alter the question a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like more of a question of like, do you think that if you were in a majority, let's say, Jewish community, do you think you could still find Christ? Do you think that you could still become a Christian even though do you think God will find you, basically?
Yeah, and for that, absolutely, because this happens every day, and I think what makes it difficult is that somebody, especially if it's like there's like real strong conviction, so it's like Orthodox Jewish or it's Islam that really follows the Quran, faithfully and things like that, to go against that grain, to go against how you've been raised and those convictions oftentimes comes at a great cost, for sure. It can even come at the cost of your life, as family that break away from Islam and renounce that and then accept Christ. Oftentimes they have a target literally put on their back, and there's these, what are they called, mercy killings, honor killings, or whatever. So I think it's possible, but it would definitely speak to the conviction that they gain in Jesus, and that knowing that He truly is the Savior, and that everything else pales in comparison to that. So I think it's kind of a tough question for sure.
I think for us here in America, I mean, it's being a Christian is almost like a low-hanging fruit. There's no persecution per se. There's like it's not a life or death choice. It's really,
we don't know persecution.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like I can understand kind of the heart of what that person's trying to ask. Like, is it, and like you said, it's what a great testimony it is for that person that is being raised in this other community to then find Christ and come to Christ, because that road to get there is probably much tougher, and you got to change a lot of thought processes to get to that point, a lot of ideologies to get to that point. Where us, we're fat and happy. You know what
maybe
I mean?
we can alter the question then. Maybe we can more direct it at church-going people that are quote-unquote Christians.
Yep.
How real is your faith?
Mm.
How real is Jesus? Is He the only one? Is He truly the only one who can save you from your sin? Is He the only door, as He says in John 14? He says, I am the door. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Right.
So that's the bold statement. that the way to eternal life, the way to the Father, who is God, is only through Jesus. And so then in our non-persecution society and our non-persecuted Western church, the low-hanging fruit church, where is your conviction? Because, Jesus said, if you're ashamed of me in front of man, I'll be ashamed of you in front of my Father.
Yeah.
So we're talking more than just like what I adhere to, what my philosophy is, or what I lean on. We're talking about eternity. We're talking about, I know there's a hell question in here. So we're talking about where you'll spend eternity. If you confess Jesus before men, the Father will confess you Jesus will confess you before his Father. And so we don't have to make those types of decisions so much here because of the lack of persecution, but somebody who is born into perhaps Islam or Hinduism and then, finds Jesus with that kind of conviction that they break away, there's everything's at stake. They may never see their family again. They may totally ostracized from their family and their community. So how important is Jesus then?
Yeah.
How important is it for us who live here?
That's good. I mean, Pastor Gabe, senior and founding pastor, he was a Catholic and he converted to Protestant Christianity, Pentecostal, and his own father said, like,
You're not my son.
You're not my son. You're not my son. I mean, and it's still Christian. It's the same God, still Christian. Like, it's just a slightly different, at base level, slightly different variation. It's still Christian. You know what I mean? So, and his own father said, "You're not my son anymore." And so he, even just converting from Christianity in America, was disowned by his father. To go to those even farther, more extreme, you start to travel further. You go Islam, Hindu, all these different things. It's like that even further out there. I mean, in America, it's kind of harder to get killed and get away with it, but you start to travel outside a little bit more. There's a price on your head, and it's
a crime.
Yeah, it's
your faith could
worth
be
paying.
Literally a crime.
You guys can probably actually talk to this on a different level too, because right before we started the podcast itself, you guys just got back from India.
And that's all that's been in my head during this question is like we went out there and like we're in these remote villages in the middle of nowhere.
What's the major religion out there? Is it
Hinduism?
Yeah. Okay.
And Buddhism.
The birthplace of Buddha is there as well.
And then some Islam.
There's some Muslims, and but the Muslims are persecuted quite a bit in India. But the Hindu is definitely the dominant religion, and they persecute the Christians and the Muslims.
Yeah, big time. And so we were out in these remote villages, dude. I mean, I don't know if we've even mentioned on the podcast, but we went into like drug controlled territory. It might be in the earlier episodes. I can't remember, but drug controlled territory. Like they told us, do not take out your phone. They told me to put my camera in my backpack. Don't even be seen with a camera, because we were in drug controlled territory.
Like separatists that in areas that were not controlled by the government.
Active war zone rebellion.
Yeah, so that it was basically controlled by these cartels where we walked through poppy fields to get to a church.
Wow.
And those are the poppy fields that obviously they're harvesting to make heroin.
The drug lords and the cartels, they're harvesting in there. So they told us don't use your phone, don't do anything. And like we walking through poppy fields, literally poppy fields, and then we go to this beautiful tent and we're having church service in the middle of this drug-controlled, active war zone rebellion. Like, even the people we were with had to warn both the rebels and the Indian army that
we're coming.
Americans are coming. Like, do not do anything because, like, no one wants to face the repercussions of 3 Americans dying. Well,
mostly
in an active war zone too.
The missionaries had to go and basically tell the cartels, we're coming in with Americans, but it's for the church, and so that's why they said don't take out your phones, because there's people are strapped in the woods and they're just watching. They're all constantly watching their
you're
their
driving
products.
up the mountain. You're driving up the mountain, dude, and you look up and you'll just see some guy posted in the tree with a rifle. Like it was wild, but all that to say that in the middle of nowhere, you have these former Hindus now converted and worshiping God with such conviction, such passion, such authority. No lights, no sound system, no nothing. They're just screaming at the top of their lungs and worshiping and praising God. And so it's I think yes. In the very straightforward answer to this question is, of course, anybody can believe. Anybody has access.
Right.
You know, it to kind of go into the hypothetical as to, you know, what if
What if
you yourself, it's like, you know, I don't know about that, but Romans 1:20 says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. So, like, talking about belief in God is that, you know, God has created this earth and his glory is revealed through his creation, not just you and I, but everything he's created, right? And so his glory can be revealed, and so none of us have excuse to not believe or not understand. So it's like that whole, what if somebody's on a remote island and they die and they never, you know, heard about Jesus? Well, Romans 1:20 kind of speaks to that in the sense that God's glory is revealed through all things, you know, dreams, visions, signs, wonders, and the very things that he's created. And so none are without excuse. All will be judged according to the same measure. So, you know, as Ken said, the way to the Father is through Jesus. He is the one and only true way. So again, his glory is revealed, so people can access it. No matter
where you are,
if you've never met a Christian, you still have the ability to encounter God.
That's part of the reason why we do this, right? We want to help reach the ends of the earth.
Absolutely.
And to bring something full circle, we never told those stories, but that was like a kind of an inception of like the podcast ideas, that we had these not safe for Sunday stories from India, because we had just gotten back when we were in the planning stages for this podcast, and so that's where Not Safe for Sunday came from, the title, because we had these stories that were but now that we should do an episode dedicated to telling the Not Safe for Sunday stories of India.
That might be a bonus drop.
There's a bunch.
That might need to be a bonus drop.
There's a bunch.
I was just telling my train story
that's one of the best
other
ones.
day.
Train platform.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We definitely got to get into that.
Yeah.
We got to get into that at some point.
Because
it's a great name for a podcast.
It is.
They're great stories, but it's like you just said. That word, you guys reach these people in the middle of these fields. That God's word is going to reach every end of the earth. Everybody's going to
and there's a price to pay sometimes, because one in particular, one of the missionaries, he's got some health issues that stem from really getting the crap kicked out of him.
Absolute daylight's beat.
Wow.
Got beat bad, you know, and head beaten
multiple times.
And because he's unashamed and bold and going into these remote places to bring the love of Jesus. And it's not just in word, you know, there's the drilling of freshwater wells, you know what I mean? That's kind of an inroad to first give these people clean water that they don't have access to, and then, you know, with that comes that love, you know, unconditional love, that they're going to do this.
They clothe, they feed,
blankets, all that stuff, you know, and so, but that can come at a price too, but they are unashamed. It does not dissuade them whatsoever. They still, you know, and so we look to them as like, we're just like these like.
You ask yourself, am I saved?
Am I? Yeah, exactly.
Like,
would I have that conviction?
Would I endure what this man's endured for the price of the cross? Like, I mean, we don't know even to scratch the surface. We're scared to even tell somebody Jesus loves them, and you're not even going to get slapped. You might even be like, somebody might just say, okay, thank you. You know, that's the worst persecution, you know, like, you know.
And they have like no resources, and they're just driving motorcycles like over this ridiculous terrain, hundreds of miles, just to reach the lost. So we don't have an idea.
And that's why the question the way that you rephrased it as us in America here, low-hanging fruit, like, where does your conviction lie? You know what I mean? Are you going to be that bold? Are you capable of being
And there will be a time where, I mean, as we draw nearer to the end, there will be a time where the rubber will meet the road, and
your faith will be
count
proven.
the cross.
Your faith will be proven for sure. You know,
not to scare people, but that's just
but
the reality
there's so many people, you know, like there's just so many people like right there in front of you, you know, that you don't have to go on a motorcycle in India hundreds of miles into the remote drug cartel territories. There's a lady outside of Cumberland Farms, you know, who's like cold and wet and just, you know, homeless or hurting, that
Right.
you can just go buy her a coffee at Cumbies and just give her, just give her the love of God that way.
Right.
So there's so much right in front of you, and it's like, so what is, where is your faith? Where's the conviction of that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. You guys, any last thoughts there in the booth?
Sure. I would just say I really like what you said, Daniel, about how God's glory is like revealed in His creation. There's this thing I learned about. It's like a more sciencey thing. It's called the fine tuning of the universe, and it basically like observes how the universe and the earth is just so precisely set up for life to flourish.
Yeah.
To the point that it doesn't make sense. Like if we were any further from the sun or any closer, we would either burn or freeze. Like the way that gravity is set up in such a way that it works perfectly for us, like the air, like just everything.
Science is finally catching up to the Bible, dude.
We always say it. We always say it on the
crazy.
podcast.
I saw somebody posting like the like you can trace the chromosomes back to like two first individuals. It's like crazy.
They call them
Adam,
ancestral Adam,
yeah,
ancestral
yeah,
Eve.
yeah.
And just to speak on Spence's point, I love that stuff, Spence. And it's like, I think if you can even correct me, but it's even like 1 degree or even like half a degree. If it was just that
right.
little minuscule off, none of it would work.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. What about you, Jake? You got a last thought?
Yeah, I think you guys brought up awesome points. I think that you can draw somebody away from Christianity just as quick as you can bring somebody to Christianity.
That's a great
Good
point.
point, Jake.
And I think that even if you're an introverted person, you can really draw somebody out by just showing how much you love Christ, by being the image of Christ and living out the life that He wants for you. You don't necessarily have to be an outgoing person posting on social media saying this or that. It's more of the image and the day-to-day battles that you face that somebody might see, and they might know your story from where you came from, and that might really impact them more than you even see.
Facts.
Good word,
One of
Jake.
the best evangelists I know is a woman by the name of Terry.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she is the most
Friend of the pod.
humble, quiet, meek, incredible woman. And she doesn't have a podcast. She doesn't have a platform. She doesn't have a YouTube. She doesn't do anything crazy that is outward. She's just herself. And she shares God's love everywhere and anywhere she goes with anybody. And it's not like this weird thing. It's just such a genuine, real love that you just feel from her. And it just that's what that just brought to mind is like everyone thinks like you need to have a personality, you need to be this outgoing, you need to have the platform, you need to be the pastor, you need to be this person in leadership, but that person when it's like you just have to be you.
Yeah,
you have to be who God has created you to be. Back to that glove analogy, just live in the purpose that God's created you for, and that's when you'll be finally understand like your meaning and your purpose.
Your life is the platform.
And so shout out to Terry.
Shout out to Terry.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod, Terry. Sponsor the pod. Johnny, any last thoughts?
Your India stories remind me of. I'm going on the Honduras missions trip, so.
Are you really?
I am. I'm preparing myself.
Are you excited?
I'm not prepared to go through any poppy seeds or anything. But I'm excited and nervous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna do great, dude.
Jacob
Jake's
will
going
do.
too.
Jake
Yeah.
too. Dynamic duo right there.
Oh my gosh,
Tag
dude.
team.
Wow, you're gonna have to do like a drop in on the pod
I
from
know.
like
You guys should do
Start
a
live
record like
streaming.
Oh, mini
live stream on the
episode.
pod, like a mini
just all
episode.
conspiracies and boat talk.
Yeah, but no, we're excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited about them two going.
That's gonna be something.
Yeah,
Dynamic duo.
God's gonna do great.
You guys
things.
sharing a room?
No,
I don't know yet. We don't really know the dynamic 100%.
That's awesome.
Well, I have an inside scoop, dude. We'll get you
with Nick. I think my room is with Nick, but I don't
with
know.
Nick. That's a good room.
Not a bad room. Boys and blankets, I heard.
Yeah.
Not safe for Sunday.
Different podcast.
Oh, we didn't.
No overlap.
Yeah, it's not what you think it is. Boys and blankets. It's not what you think it is.
That's their tagline.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not what you think.
That's good.
Dave's got the inside scoop.
I have visited once.
He's dipped his toe in the blanket.
Hopefully no conspiracy theories.
Dip my toe in the blanket.
Oh my goodness. We didn't get through all the questions. We didn't have time. There's a couple more. We'll probably put a pin in it and we'll get back to it. But this actually got a lot deeper and
Nah, it did.
a lot more eye opening than I expected it to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
Give us some feedback, guys. We want to hear from you. Again, requests. I just got a text today about a request for the pod. So, text us, message us, comment,
Subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Notification. But, if you like what you're hearing, if you don't like what you're hearing, we need that feedback. If without that feedback, we're just making this up. So if you want to hear something, you want us to go a different direction, let us know. So that way, we can give you what's going to benefit you, what you want to know.
Yeah. There's nothing that's off limits. Like we basically talk about really anything.
Just wait till that bonus India episode. It'd be
that's gonna be a great episode.
You'll really know no limits.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it.
That and my Pope name being revealed.
Oh God.
Hashtag what's Daniel's Pope name? I want hashtag what's Daniel's Pope name in the comments.
Yeah, let's have some some viewer feedback.
Yeah,
what would you want his Pope name to be?
What would my Pope name
we
be?
naming boats. We're naming popes. We're doing it all on this podcast. But yeah, we would love to hear from you. Whatever it is.
Pope, dope, taupe.
The dope Pope in the
dope
taupe.
Pope in the taupe. It lives on. It lives on.
Drop the mic.
Peace and love.
Yeah.
Love, peace. See ya.
Later. The Not Safe for Sunday podcast was recorded in the loft. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. Audio editing by Spencer Barrowman. Video editing by John Walsh. If you'd like to join us for a Sunday service, you can find us at Conquerors for Christ Church, located at 972 Reed Road in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.